Hello and welcome to Josh and Austin Figure It Out. Is that the name of our podcast?
That's the name, Josh. We
Yeah,
figured it out. You got it.
I listen to a lot of Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, and so I almost said that. And so Josh and Austin need a friend. I feel like we've got friends.
I mean, I'm always
friend.
open to more. I'm always open to more, but
Right.
that's not the name of this podcast.
It is not technically. Yeah. How have you been?
Good. Yeah, good. Summer's winding down. It's winding down
It
fast.
is.
We had a very
Already.
cool week actually in Iowa, which is very nice. There's a lot of very low 70s. We're getting our couple weeks of fall before we dive headfirst into the frigid winter.
Yes.
So really enjoying that. College football and the NFL season are upon us.
Yes.
Iowa State University had their first game already. We won.
Yeah. Did you watch it?
I watched it. It was great. It was a little strange though. I felt like I didn't feel like I was really in football mode. It just like snuck up on us. I know we played a week earlier than everyone else, but also just the end of the summer came so fast.
It did, and it was weird because it was almost a flip of a switch from 90 degrees that week to that Saturday morning.
Yeah.
It was like in the upper 50s, nice little
Yeah.
breeze, sitting out on the porch watching the game, and like, wow, it's football season now. It was
That definitely
such a
helped.
quick transition.
That
It
definitely
also helped.
helped.
Yeah, and we won, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Nice thing. But yeah, I enjoyed watching that, and I agree. It's weird that it's so quick, and then school started for us here.
That's right. Yeah.
This
You've
week.
got,
So
you've got a kindergartner.
we have a kindergartner, so that's the big news over here. We sent him off. He does 3 short days. The kindergartners do to like do the sorting hat or the NFL draft of kindergarten.
Is that so?
It is
They get-
so.
they
Yeah,
get sorted
it's-
into Slytherin and Ravenclaw and the other ones.
yeah, exactly. And so there's these teachers, and they to divide up all these kids into smaller classes, and I don't know how they do it, but I think they're just like looking for kids who might be a little bit too disruptive when they're with each other, or kids with the same name, or like that type of thing. That's like, we can squash this pretty early. Let's just not have them the same name in the same class be constantly confused all year. Let's just put them in different rooms. And so it makes sense. And so we got our assignment yesterday. He did. And we got to go to a little open house last night to meet his teacher and get him settled into his classroom. So today's his first full day.
Wow.
So pretty excited. I'm happy for him. I think he's very, very much like ready for this. He's very independent. He just loves to have kind of new activities on his plate. So yeah, well, I'll have to see how it went today when he gets home.
Yeah, that's great. So you feel like he's ready for it. He's excited. He isn't too nervous about heading out.
Yeah, and it's great too. So I know you did like maybe a combination of homeschool and then like high school growing up, but I grew up in the country outside of Stratford, and I was one of the first kids on the bus route. So I had to be on the bus at like 7 a.m. and ride the bus for like 45 minutes to an hour, then get dropped off at school. And of course, you're the last to be dropped off at the end of the day too. So I spent so much time on a bus, and getting to school was such a task. And now we live 2 blocks from the school. And
It's
so
wonderful.
we walk. It's like a 10-minute walk. He could ride his bike if he wanted. I'll probably start doing that. But it's just, you start to realize, wow, I see all these kids getting off the bus. I'm like, man, this kid's pretty lucky that he lives so close to the school, and me too, that I don't have to drive him to school or something like that.
Yeah, that's a huge one. I know, like, my kids aren't in that stage quite yet, but a common refrain you hear from parents with school-age kids is like, our life is just driving them places, to school and back from school, and then to the after-school program, and then back from the sports, and then the other thing, and the theater, and so yeah, that's a huge win. That's very lucky. I hope he counts himself lucky, even if you make him walk there in the dead of winter.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. It's good. It's good times. And we're just full on into fall here. It's in fall weather. I think this is a false fall. So we're going to get another round of hot weather, because I guess it is still August. It's almost September though. Wow. By the time this comes out, it will certainly be September. But yeah, and then it's going to be too cold to function. So
Yep, we'll get another 90-degree wave, and then it'll just plummet from there. But we're used to it. We still talk about it every year here in the Midwest. Like it shocks us, but happens every year. You, Josh, I wanted to ask about your trip to Okoboji. You went to the
Okoboji, yeah.
you
We
went to the
took
most tropical place in Iowa.
it's like the Atlantic Ocean of Iowa. It's the Miami
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
Midwest. Okoboji, Lake Okoboji. We've got like one big lake, and then up in Minnesota they've got 10,000. But
Yeah.
yeah, Okoboji is great. I'd never been there before. My wife Bree hadn't been, and so we went up. It's funny getting up there from Des Moines. I thought it was going to be like a straight shot, but we had to go through almost every rural town
Nice.
in north central Iowa to get there. So it was fun getting there. But when we got there, it was great. We stayed at this little resort called Bridges Bay, and it has like an indoor and outdoor water park, and so the kids loved that. It was perfect kind of amount of stuff for kids our age, which is 5 and under. So like little lily pads to jump across and a big yellow slide to go down that was their size, and it was awesome. And then we didn't go out on the lake, but we were there with our cousins and Bree's brother, uh, and we went to some restaurants and had some donuts and went to a playground. So it was just all in all a really good time. I think we'll probably try to go back at least once again, but maybe you can make it an annual summer thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's great. So you spent your time in the chlorinated water while you had the lake in the background. So
yes,
you kept
yeah,
yourself safe
exactly.
from any brain eating amoeba or whatever they
Yes,
have in lakes around these
that's
parts.
true. And I feel the reason I want to go back too is that we spent I mean, we were there for 2 nights, the entire time in maybe 1 to 2 mile radius of the hotel or the resort. And so like there's an entire lake, and going around the whole thing, I know there's lots of other fun restaurants and activities. And of course, renting a boat and getting on the lake would be fun too.
Hmm.
So I feel like we could go back and have a completely different trip next time. But yeah, just hanging out at that water park is at this age is really fun for those
Yeah,
kids. But
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, you have to go back, explore the many wonders of Okoboji, Lake Okoboji, and Arnold's Park.
yes,
Did you go to Arnold's Park? Did you see
we did.
the rickety wooden rides and things that you wouldn't put your kids
Yes.
on?
That was one of the highlights. We went there or right when it opened up one morning and went to the kids zone. They've got a lovely kids area that has rides for kids our age again. Like if you went to Adventureland or the fair, there'll be like a couple rides that they're big enough to ride, but otherwise it's just too big for them. So these were perfect. They had a kiddie coaster that they went on and loved, and then just a bunch of other little ones. We did the Ferris wheel and stuff. But I like Arnold's Park, man. Arnold's Park is fun. There's lots of concessions and your classic amusement park.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know who Arnold is? I never figured out who Arnold is.
No,
Why is it
I
his
don't know
park?
who.
I don't know who it's
And
referring
why?
to.
Yeah, and why haven't they like changed his name? Yeah, Arnold's Mister. Well, Arnold's Park is the name of the town too, right? So it's like,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, that's confusing. I thought it was just the name of an amusement park, but like
Maybe we'll get a
it's a
write in. Maybe
township.
someone will tell us who it is. One of our
Yeah.
dedicated Iowan listeners will help us out there.
Yes, Okoboji experts. In fact, you can write in. You could also record a voice note, send it to us. We'll play it
Yeah.
for you on the air, and we'll answer your question. We'd love to have some voice notes from our dedicated fan base. Yeah, that would be really
Yeah.
fun to
Yeah.
do.
In
So,
fact, you listener should go to joshandaustinpodcast.com right now. That's
okay.
joshandaustinpodcast.com, where you'll find a listing of all our episodes, but you'll also find a button to reach out to us and send us an
Oh,
email. And you can ask a question. You can make a comment if it's positive. You can send a voice memo. You can send a suggestion. Anything you feel like. That's joshandaustinpodcast.com. Head over there.
this is cool. You've updated this, haven't you, Austin? I
Just a
haven't
little
seen
bit.
this in a while.
Yeah,
This
just a
looks
little.
real nice.
We are web developers, so we should have a website, I think. It's not the best
Mm-hmm.
website, but it's up there. So go
It's
check it out
simple.
and then send us an email.
Yeah. Well, cool. Do it. Do it. Sweet. Well, what are we chatting about today,
I
other
uh,
than Arnold's Park?
I have a middle-aged update for you.
Okay.
Since our last show, I've gotten into whittling,
Whittling, like with a knife and wood.
like with a knife and wood. I am into carving spoons.
Okay.
Because I think that's a hobby that you do when you reach a certain age.
I think
Um,
so. It's a mandate. Yeah.
So I fell into a YouTube rabbit hole. Yeah, and I was like, this just looks so relaxing, and you get a beautiful wooden utensil at the end of the day. So a couple weeks ago, I ordered two knives and some blanks of black walnut.
Mm.
And it's gone pretty well. I found out after the fact that walnut's actually not a good beginner wood to whittle because it is quite hard.
Okay.
Oh, I've been doing it
Yeah.
for about 2 weeks. I'm still working on the same spoon.
Mm.
If you're on YouTube, I have it here. My progress.
Hmm.
This is my
Oh,
whittled spoon. If I can
very
get it to
whittled.
focus. Can't get it to focus. It's a rough black walnut spoon. It's handmade. It has a handmade look to it, which is what you
It,
want. This has
yeah.
taken me 2 weeks though, um,
Hmm.
because I didn't read the beginner's guide to whittling. I jumped right into this. I guess an expert would. But it's been really great, and it is like there's something relaxing about it, something meditative about it. Like I sit down after the kids are have gone to bed, and it's dark out and it's quiet. I don't put on any music or podcasts or anything. It's just me and the
Mm.
spoon and the knife, and you're just taking a cut and another cut and another cut, and you just kind of slowly see the spoon come into being. It's really fun, and I have also like I have a number of injuries on my hand. I've
Okay.
got
Yeah.
a band-aid there. I've got some cuts on the side of my hand. So you're supposed to wear
Hmm.
like a cut-resistant glove. I did not do that.
Mm.
So it hasn't been without its dangers, but it's been really fun. And I think like secondarily, if you're someone that um, works a computer job, an email job, and lives in the virtual world, it's fun every once in a while to kind of pull out and make something in the real world, like make a physical object or create something that's not pixels on a screen. There's something really satisfying about it. So, highly
Definitely.
recommend carving spoons if you're of a certain age and persuasion. I've really enjoyed
That,
it.
that's really cool. That's a cool hobby. Tell me what's the knife like? Do you have special carving knives like, and do you keep them sharp? All that stuff.
Yeah.
What's your knife setup?
So it's a whole world. The two knives that I have is one of them is called a Sloyd knife. Uh,
Sloyd.
it's spelled yeah, Sloyd, and yeah, it's a relatively short blade with a big handle, so it's comfortable to hold. And that's for doing your the majority of your carving work after you've roughed out a basic shape. You don't want to start with a big log and then use just a tiny knife and try and take out all the wood. So you
Hmm.
can use a lot of people rough it out with like a I don't know, some kind of saw or a hatchet or whatever. Then you use your Sloyd knife to do your straight cuts. That does most of the detail work for you, shaping the handle and the rough shape of the spoon bowl. And then I just picked up a hook knife. Also, if you're on YouTube,
Mm.
I'm showing you this. This is a hook knife, and this is what you used to make the spoon bowl. Or also, if you wanted to make a small, like a regular bowl or whatever, you can use the hook knife, which allows you to make curved cuts um,
Hmm.
to kind of hollow out a bowl, because that would be pretty
Yeah.
difficult to do with a straight knife. So those are my two knives. I bought a 4 pack of walnut blanks. That was like $10. The two knives was probably $60 all in. And now I've got a lifetime hobby, Josh. So if you want
Yeah.
a knife, or sorry, if you want a spoon, let me know. I'm cranking away at spoons. I think my turnaround time is about 1 to 3 months right now. Let me know
S-
if you want in.
Start your Shopify store, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Lead
If only I
time
knew
is
someone that
three
could help me.
years. Yeah.
I need someone to help
That's so
me.
cool. That's awesome. I remember going to Boy Scout campouts, and
Yeah,
I understand the meditativeness of sitting in front of a fire, just like whittling something. It's just like,
yeah,
oh yeah, yep, I remember that. That's very relaxing. Last night, we put together a trellis that we ordered online, like a garden bed
yeah.
and trellis system, and it's like basic assembly, but even that took me a couple hours. But there's something about just hooking into that activity and not focusing on anything, and like not letting anything else distract me, my phone or anything else. Um, that was just great. It's like, oh yeah, I miss this.
Yeah, oh, 100%.
Manual
Like
labor and putting something together. Yeah.
when you spend just the majority of your life just typing on a keyboard, and there are things
Hmm.
that are satisfying about software engineering and all that as well, but yeah, there's just something different about doing something in the physical world and stepping back and seeing something that you actually created with your two hands. And I don't know, I think maybe we'll see. We'll see if this whittling thing is the gateway into full-on woodworking, which I think is also. I'm also getting close to the age where you take up an interest in woodworking.
That's true. Yep.
So we'll see. I'll keep you updated. I'll hopefully by next show I'll have finished the spoon. That's taken me 3 weeks. And we can show off the finished product. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. I am going to work on finding a non-tech hobby now.
You should do it. You should do it. I highly recommend it.
Austin, you are working on a new blog stack, I hear.
Yes. Yeah, because I don't want to write any blog posts. I just want to work on my blog.
As one does, yes.
As one does. Yeah. Well, that's not totally fair. I have written a couple blog posts in the last few months. I've written 3 posts since May. I'm averaging a post a month.
Hey, that's not bad.
0.75 posts per month. That's not bad. But I wrote one at the beginning of this month called React from Scratch in 50 lines of code. It was a lot of fun as just kind of an educational exercise and trying to figure out what exactly is React doing for you, how does it work under the hood, etc. And the blog post is just chock full of code blocks as I kind of build up these 50 lines of code over the course of the post. And I'd pretty much finished the post, and I was like, it'd be really nice if like these code blocks were like interactive and like you could edit them and they would render a preview, kind of CodePen style preview next to it, so people, folks could play around with it, get a feel for how it's working, mess around. Thankfully, I stopped myself from going down that entire rabbit hole before publishing. I was like, you know what? I'll do that next time around. I just need to get this out the door. So I published the post, but I started looking around like, what are folks doing for like interactive widgets inside of a blog post, that kind of thing. Because I really, really enjoy reading those kinds of posts. Like a Josh W. Como does a great job with that kind of stuff. Sam Rose has recently come big on the scene with super interactive like educational blog posts, and they just add so much from like a reader experience to be able to really interact with abstract concepts and help solidify. Anyway, so I was looking into that. My blog is written in Astro, so I kind of have the world is kind of my oyster from that perspective. I can use pretty much any tech that I want. And I think the like classic answer to this is MDX and like a modern blog stack. Most folks use MDX, an extension of Markdown, which lets you write JavaScript and React inside of your Markdown post. So you can be writing a paragraph, and then you throw angle bracket my component and angle bracket, and it will render that React component inside of your blog post. Yeah, that was kind of the state of the art for a while. I have tried to get into it a couple times, and I just something about MDX just does not mesh with how I want to think about my blog content. And I don't know what it is, because I think my blog is honestly set up fine to be able to use it, but there's just something about the mixing. Like as soon as you introduce like executable JavaScript into your Markdown, you've crossed some bridge, right? Where it's like, all right, this pile of Markdown files is not actually content. It's source code that needs to be processed. It needs to be bundled. It needs to be set up in a certain way before you can actually get it out the door. And there's something about that, like crossing that line, that just feels wrong to me. Not to mention just like it really complicates your blog stack, and you're heaping on some more dependencies that you have to keep up to date, etc. So I didn't really want to cross that bridge. What like does what I'm saying there about MDX, like does any of that resonate with you in your experience of using it, or what's your perspective on it?
Yeah, absolutely it does. And this is very fresh on my mind. We at work just got done with a major project to migrate lots and lots of old Markdown content, or even like liquid pre-rendered Markdown content over to MDX. In our evaluation process, we looked at a couple of options briefly, given that we are authoring documents in so many different ways, and we needed a standard way to do it. And one of them is Markdoc, we could talk about too, but we found that MDX is just kind of like you said, it's kind of the one that everyone goes to. in that it's like you're writing Markdown because you have the front matter at the top and you can just write normal Markdown and not do anything fancy, and it's still the same, except for you can add like angle bracket type of React components and they render, which is great. And that's what most of us want to do. I feel like what we want to do is like write a post and then stick in some interactive widget, and have it render, and then everything else is Markdown. The problem is, and what you're getting at here is that like MDX really it's a JSX like DSL. It's getting compiled down to JSX before it gets rendered on the page, and so it is a JavaScript runtime. And so what's happening behind the scenes is it's parsing the tree of MDX into JSX like elements, and then rendering those on the output. And so you can do things like insert like a squiggly bracket and write some JavaScript function or import stuff, and do really advanced JavaScript things. But I think for the most part, we don't want to do that. And it feels that leads to several pitfalls along the way, from like tooling to like security, and also like if you're managing thousands of documents, like conformity to style guides and stuff can get out of hand really quickly. We've also found like it's very sensitive to indentation and like white space, and that'll just crash the MDX compiler. It's not fault tolerant like standard Markdown or like HTML would be. So I feel the pain for sure. Have you investigated alternatives?
Yeah, so I started going down the Markdoc path, which Markdoc comes out of Stripe. I believe it's what powers all of Stripe's documentation. And I don't know, how would you explain Markdoc? It's kind of like it's kind of an alternative / superset of Markdown that comes with tools for customization to do like things like custom tags. And nodes, as well as processes to configure those and render those in different environments, namely React. The way that I encountered it was through an Astro integration. So my blog is built in Astro. They have like an Astro plus Markdoc integration that's super easy to set up. Like Astro has these really slick like CLI commands where you say like Astro add Markdoc or whatever, and it installs the correct dependencies and sets up your config file and everything for you, which is really nice. So I went down that route, and it's feeling a lot better to me. There's a little bit more. There's still configuration that needs to be done right before you're just writing your custom components. But the separation feels cleaner to me because you have your Markdoc file, and you're writing Markdown, and then you can have these custom tags, which the syntax reminds me a little bit of liquid tags, where you have like curly brace %, custom tag name and curly brace, that kind of thing. So you're not writing JavaScript in there. You're not writing React angle bracket components in there. You're writing Markdown plus these custom tags. And then what Astro helps you do with the integration is you can configure Markdoc such that you can just say, like, when you see this custom tag of code preview, actually insert this Astro component and render that instead.
Nice.
So it just makes the connection there really easy. You just say like, hey, you're looking at this custom component or this custom tag in Markdoc, map it to this Astro component, and then the Astro component, you can do whatever you want, including rendering React components or Svelte components or Preact or Vue or whatever. You can pass props, you can pass children. And Astro takes care of like the building and the rendering and the bundling or whatever it is behind the scenes to do those to do that tying together for you, those integrations for you. And it feels nice to me because like I said, you're not crossing that bridge of like, okay, now what was just content is now source code plus content. Like the Markdoc files are still portable in the sense that they do need to be rendered with something that knows about Markdoc, but the stuff that's in there is just content. You could stick it in a CMS, you could stick it in a remote server and fetch it and get it rendered on the fly, that kind of thing. So I think that's the route I'm going to go down. I haven't like written a full post with it, with like several different kinds of widgets, so I don't know totally what other kinks I'm going to run into with the flow, but in my early tests, it seemed very, very promising, and just the separation feels a lot better to me.
Yeah, it definitely feels closer to what I think we want in our lives, such as like you're writing prose and then you want to inject this thing that you don't really want it to think about or care about the content around it. It should exist kind of on an island, which is funny because Astro does have the concept of like
Yeah.
client islands, right? And so
Yeah.
that fits perfectly with that, but almost like an iframe too. It's
Yep.
just like, here's an iframe, it loads up something else. It could be anything, but I'm wanting to load this thing and then get back to my writing.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm trying to remember why I was dissuaded by Markdoc. I think it was definitely more opinionated from Stripe. It had
Hmm.
I didn't like the syntax, honestly.
Yeah.
I missed the angle bracket syntax that everyone's used to. I mean, it's funny because the percent sign syntax is liquid, which is literally what we invented at Shopify. And so it feels definitely, on one hand, at home, but I also don't think like people have encountered Markdoc that often. So asking
Yeah.
thousands of people to contribute, oh, by the way, we use this thing called Markdoc, go learn it, versus like, here, just write Markdown, and then sometimes there's some components in it.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of,
Yeah.
that's how we weighed that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think like the third option that maybe some web people are screaming at the podcast right now is like, why don't you just use a web component? Stick a web component in there. And I've thought about that path. It does seem like, maybe that is the best, like most lightweight way to go. Because, Markdown can contain HTML. You can throw some HTML tags in there. And then you just have to make sure the plumbing is there in the back end, that you load a script with your custom element and you register it with the right tag name, etc. And make sure it's good to go in there, because at the end of the day, you're putting HTML on the page, right? So you could have a custom tag with a script. But there's some stuff that's attractive about that to me. Obviously, it feels very lightweight. It feels simple. You're not adding a whole bunch of tooling on top of it. The downsides, though, are I don't want to write a web component because the web component authoring experience is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, like, because like it is lightweight, which is nice, but the lack of tooling on top of it also is going to make the authoring experience harder, because you're like, okay, I want to include these different tags on this blog post. Now, how am I instrumenting it such that I'm ensuring all the correct scripts are loaded on the back end, that are loading my components, that are registering them to the custom element registry for
Yeah.
each different block. There's no connective tissue right there. So like I'd have to invent a framework for my own blog to like ensure that I'm pulling in the right scripts for the right posts, and then I would have to author them in web components, which I don't want to do. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to
Yeah,
choose something
no.
else.
It's so appealing. It's so like enticing to use web components for the standards based reasons too. And we're using it for a lot of things at Shopify right now for like admin extensibility and checkout stuff. But I think we're close. We've got some ideas as far as like using web component like syntax to kind of cross the boundary between what you're authoring in versus how it gets rendered without having to do the whole JSX dance. But one of the downsides too, if you're just using straight web components and you've authored it in a way where for example, you're putting in code examples, but it's just like almost like a self-closing tag, and you're loading a fancy widget that loads up all these remote code examples. If you're rendering that stuff in like the shadow DOM, it's not going to render on the server. Like SEO crawlers aren't going to see that.
Yep.
LLMs aren't going to see that. And so if you're rendering it through like I think a child slot and it's like raw on the page, that's probably fine. But like then you run into that sort of thing too, where it's like, oh yeah, web components can't SSR as far as I'm aware. I could be way off base, but yeah, silly things like that. I could talk your ear off too about LLMs like Markdown a lot. And so we want to have versions of every page that we've written in MDX to be available in Markdown.
Yep.
So it's tempting to be like, all right, we'll just take the MDX. But then if you do have those like big honky components that inject a bunch of stuff, it's useless. And so how do you take MDX and convert it back to Markdown? And that's a problem we're trying to solve right now. We've got a few options, but none of them are great. And Yeah, I'll let you know how that goes though.
I don't know. Maybe we should all just go back to writing plain text with no styling and
I think we
no
should.
fancy widgets and no what just links and text. I don't know.
Right, because
Um,
technically we're in a post, human world, right? The
who
computer doesn't
cares?
care what something looks
Who
like.
care?
It's just
Who
gonna,
cares about a UI?
yeah, just give it
Cares about
text,
a
give it TXT
Who cares
file.
about a fancy widget? Yeah, get out of here with that.
Yeah.
I speaking like since we were talking about web components, it reminded me of another blog post that I wrote. I'm just Mr. Blog over here. Look at
Yeah, there
this.
you go. Wow.
This one is not a recent post. This is 2023. It's called the two kinds of web components fans.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's two paragraphs. A little tongue in cheek, a little snarky, but since we're talking about web components, it's going to bring out the web component fans out of the woodwork. And my breakdown was there's the source code first web component fans where they talk about how web native they are and they're standard based and they're never going to break and I never have to npm install anything, and they're going to work forever and haha look at you with your package JSON that's ruining
Yeah.
your life, etc. um, and they're snarky in that way. And then the other folks are like the output first fans, like not the source first fans, but the output first, where they're like, I can take this little web component artifact and put it anywhere, and it can go in React and it can go in Svelte, and I can just put it in a script tag and it can start working. But I'm gonna write it using lit or enhance or
Mm-hmm.
Svelte configured to compile to web components, even though um, that would break the source first fans' heart. They can at least get a real authoring experience to write their web
Mm-hmm.
component. Um, and those people use npm, etc., but they just want the output of it. So write us an email. Which kind of snarky web component fan are you? Let us know.
Yeah. Let us know. Send us a text or a voice note too.
Yeah,
We will play it on air
and we won't
over
make
and
fun of
over
you.
again. We won't make fun of you. All right.
Speaking speaking of content, authoring and writing, etc., do you have a second brain, Josh? Are you a second brain guy?
I don't know. What does that mean? What is second brain?
Are you a Notion head or an Obsidian
Hmm.
fan where you're dumping every thought and link that you've ever seen in your life into a big document so that you can search it and reference it later? So you're outsourcing all of your thinking to a second brain.
I've started doing that at work, particularly in my like the role I am of like um, lots of context and trying to work cross team and stuff. So I started doing a lot more diligent note taking a couple of years ago, where I'll write down everything I do during the day, every PR I review, every conversation I have, because I didn't used to do that. And then some days I'd be like, well, what the heck did I do today?
Yep.
Because I didn't write code or ship something, but oh, I had 8 conversations in Slack and
Yeah.
uh, went back and forth on a PR and reviewed and unblocked a bunch of people by reviewing their PRs. So like that is something I've started to do, and it has come in handy a few times when I've had to go back and search for something that I know I talked about this 8 months ago.
Hmm.
So work wise, yes. Personal wise, it's a good question. I don't take diligent notes or like I have like my notes app on my phone. Sometimes I'll drop random things in there, but
Hmm.
I think what I use for my second brain a lot of times is my email inbox is my to-do list.
Yeah.
And I'm a person since day one of Gmail. I've just like archive, 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 not delete,
Yeah.
because that was the day where like you got 1 gigabyte of storage and it was so much back then, you'll never run out.
Yeah.
And now here I am, my inbox is 77% of 15 gigs is used, and it keeps
Yep.
yelling at me.
Yep.
But that is also helpful because I can go back and search for any email I've ever gotten. And that kind of acts as like my second brain. It's like, all right, um, I, I could, I could rely on you. How about you? What do you do?
Yeah, that's a good one. I haven't. A lot of people don't talk about email as the second brain. That's a good one. Probably because most people's emails inbox is just there's just so much garbage in there. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
pretty steadfast, like unsubscriber, filter, block. Like I try and keep my inbox as clean as possible. So I haven't considered that option, but that's a good one. It's just like the stuff in your email. If you can filter it down to just the important stuff, just keep it in there forever, and you can always reference it.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Yeah, I'm similar to you, where it's like at work, I'm a lot more diligent with note taking of like, what am I working on every day, and what are conversations that I need to reference. etc. And that I have found that to be helpful. I still don't feel like I have reached like so I use Obsidian, just because it's local markdown files. It's really fast and easy to jot some stuff down rather than trying to load Notion and figure out where
Yeah.
you're at and you're 100 breadcrumbs deep and you don't you don't know where you are.
Yeah.
So I use Obsidian. I don't feel like I've reached the platonic Obsidian ideal where like you have all these notes that are interconnected with tags and backlinks, and you just have this giant matrix graph of all your interconnected notes and everything you've ever said, and how you can find topics by tags. I'm not even close to that, and I feel like there's a weird mirage of productivity where like people that invest so much time into that is like it feels like they're really being productive and they're really building up this second brain. It's going to change their life and stuff, but it's like I feel like it ends up just being so much more work, and you spend so much more time building the ideal Obsidian or Notion base, and then you never use it for for anything valuable, but it makes you feel
Yeah.
really good. I think Aaron Francis has been on that kick too, where he's like, everyone should just delete their their notes bank and see what happens.
Yeah.
Nothing bad's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. Um, the interesting thing, so I on the topic, I use logsec or logseek, I don't know how you say it, at work, and I do the only things I link are people's names, and so anytime I mention a person, I like will do the double bracket and it creates a page for them, and then I can go to their page if I need to remember scroll back what I was talking about. But you could also search too, so
Yeah.
it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
It is interesting in a world of LLMs to what if you handed your second brain off to them? You did like
Yeah.
some rag on it, and you did some sort of some sort of thing where you could pull out patterns or strands of things, something that give you highlights. Some people use flashcards in logsec, which
Okay.
I don't understand the purpose of, but if you're trying to like learn something new, it'll pop up every now and then and do a flashcard, and then you can like, or it could be memories of like your children or something like that. Like, oh, that's great, thank you. But yeah, I wonder if there's an opportunity to take this obsessive, note taking bank and put it into an LLM and make it more useful than it is. Because right now, like you said, I don't think we really use it a whole lot other
I
than
think
just
that's
a
a good idea.
fallback.
That seems
Yeah.
like low hanging fruit for one of the existing note taking companies. Well, I know Notion has like started to introduce some AI stuff, which could be helpful. I also think like maybe there's a world where you don't need to manually be building the second brain because LLMs and agents can just find the stuff for you, right? It's like if I
Mm-hmm.
connect my Slack and my email and my GitHub,
Mm-hmm.
you can tell me what I've been doing for the last month. I don't need to write it down and then ask you. Like you could figure all that stuff out for me. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I still feel like we're a ways away from the general purpose
Yeah.
Jarvis style agent, but it seems like we could get there at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing is like I do have an LLM every week take my notes and distill them down a little bit into more more what am I trying to say? Just a slim down bullet point list with the fluff removed, and like I
Yeah.
actually push those up to a GitHub repo in our company, like everyone can read.
Okay.
And so it'd be kind of cool to be like, where Josh is on vacation or whatever. What's Josh been up to the last month? Or
Yeah.
I know Josh was looking into this. You could like feed whatever some bot that has access to all the repos and be like, oh, I know Josh was working on this, and here's what he thought about. Here's his opinions on that. But maybe more than just notes is get back to writing more. Maybe we need to
Yeah.
write more at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it on the internet, write about it, and the internet is your second brain.
There you go. There you go. What
Yeah.
if you had a blog and you wrote stuff on your blog? Callbacks.
I don't know.
I-
That's an innovative idea.
I think speaking of writing, like I do think there's we're at an interesting point now where like LLM assisted writing and reading has gone pretty mainstream, I think, at this point. And I'm curious, like, what do you think we're gonna lose from society if like LLMs are doing all the writing for us? Because I think like I found writing to be such a useful tool just to like refine your thinking. Like I know a lot of people talk about, writing is thinking. Like if you have to write down your thoughts on a topic, or if you want to explain something to someone else, like you really actually have to think through it in your head in a way that you don't have to concretely do if you're just waffling about some ideas in the ether. So I think that's going to be an interesting one, especially I think schools have been seeing it like crazy, over the past few years of like people aren't just no one's writing anything anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a big loss, not just for like, I don't know, authors or people that like to write, but just everyone in general, because writing is such a powerful tool.
Yeah, I agree. That's something that could atrophy, and like you said, writing is another way of learning. I think people who are like just farm all their writing off to LLMs it's going to be detected by people pretty quickly as not having any soul, and you're like, okay, that's probably not the way to do it. And but the reading comprehension thing too is something to be concerned about. People don't want to read anymore. I'm one of those people. Like if I see a really long thing, like just give me the Cliff Notes.
Yeah,
So
send it to Chat GPT. That's
what's
an
just
interesting
funny,
one though. Like
yeah,
like the writing, like AI writing, there's such a weird quality to it. Like you said, there's no soul to it, and
yeah.
it's this odd like. I don't know what like if I'd be curious to see if anyone's done an analysis on it to like explain why it feels that way, but it really does feel that way. Like there's you can just tell like what is it specifically about AI writing that you can tell there's no light behind the eyes of the writing. Like human writing just feels so much more vibrant. I don't know what it is. Even if it's not particularly good, you can still tell that a person wrote it. I wonder what that is.
I don't know, something about it, soul, personality,
Yeah.
lack of perfection, maybe. I don't know, maybe that's it.
Too much delving and too many M dashes.
M dashes, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
Yeah, it is. Well, Austin, I got to run, but this has
Yep.
been an excellent podcast. I'm glad we hopped on and recorded the pod. I'll chat with you again soon.
Always glad to chat, Josh. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
See ya.